what you want. Say what you want. I know exactly how you feel. I know exactly what you want.
In 2004, I started to encourage Emiy by laying church where kids were getting killed. I had one affirmation, and with that affirmation, on the back of the t-shirt was, time is all we have to change what we are. And I realized that in that space that I was part of the problem. It was time for me to do some things differently. And so we started by laying the shirts. And my goal initially was just to build this clothesline. And in building the clothing line, it would always have all these positive affirmations and things like that. And in 2007, I was approached by a mom. And the mom asked me to mentor her son. Me already having many years of high school success, coaching basketball, putting 40 young men in college, developing top players while coaching at Fernando High School, I was looking at the landscape for which my children were going into. So my son was at Halley when they moved back into the city, and what I saw was absolutely astounding to me. So immediately I had to get involved. And 2007, as a mom gave me the opportunity to mentor her son, it was an opportunity to get her son off of video games. Because her son was sitting, didn't want to go to school, and he had become laid back with his education. He wasn't pursuing his education. His mom was doing everything for him. He was doing nothing for himself. And within 3 to 4 weeks of mentoring him, he got up, took off, and the mom called me, and we met, and she paid top dollar for the opportunity, but she also brought to me this nonprofit, Encourage Me, I'm Young. She brought me the nonprofit. I had no idea what I was doing with the nonprofit. We went on and did a number of things. And one of the things that we most definitely are proud to say is that all of our boys are husbands and fathers. All of our boys go from boys to men to husbands to fathers. And so today, we are here to make sure that you get that love. In this society, I'm sure as a young man, you see things and you know that there are places where you don't feel cared for or loved. So in our story, we built Better Detroit Youth Movement with the nonprofit, and then it was time for me to go do purpose work. And when I decided to go do this purpose work, again, in my sight was you, the young man, because I was that young man. My story goes at 10 years old, I contemplated suicide. At 12 years old, I was ready to play basketball, but I was overweight. And my coach cut me and told me I had to lose 10 pounds in a week, and he'll put me on the team. And I ended up starting on my middle school basketball team as a point guard in middle school. And I'm often revisiting those things because those were my experiences. Those experiences are huge. And it's very important that you understand that you can come through your experiences and become super dope. Like me, I'm dope. I get that. I swag that. I understand that those things is what built me. I continued to work in 2009. We started with a youth march, 300 families on the east side. In 2010, I was working at the juvenile, and I I saw that there were a number of young men impacted through juvenile, and I kept saying, wow, what is happening with our young men? And part of it was, I recognized something as simple as care wasn't being applied. So while I'm working in the juvenile, I'm helping a young man learn how to read. We're going through these processes, and then the juvenile, they call themselves, set me up with a young man who was in there for murder. And everybody had been bullying these young men, tackling these young men, taking them down, the whole lot. So what was the difference? They left me and him in the room. Why I never had to take this young man down? Because exactly what we're talking to you today about. Your job as young men is to become men, husbands, and fathers. That's your job. That's your first purpose. Self-love, self-care. That's where you're supposed to be. And so, while working in the juvenile, I explained continuously, I complained, I yelled over the microphone when the beds got empty and they brought in, and my friend Otis is here, he knows all about it because we work together, and they brought these young men in to fill beds, and I lost it. They was taking young men off the porch just to fill the beds up in the juvenile. And for me, that was a deal breaker. And so they began to work on my time, and they moved. And when I left there, I went to the community, did more, and grabbed 350 boys on the east side, and we literally protected them from being picked up on risks. That 350 boys is now, today, our mentoring program, our Emiy Future Leaders, where our boys are on college campuses, our boys are chefs, electricians, our boys have become, they're in school to be doctors, our boys are fathers, our boys are business owners, right? And in that time, we continued that process, and you know you're doing something well when you are able to love on what God puts in front of you. That's when you know you're doing something well. Outside, as you guys came in, there's an RV outside. That RV is specifically for the boys. You will see that RV. We will be pulling that RV up on ballparks, fields, schools, just to engage the boys. The boys will receive a lot more. When you see another boy in an Encourage Me, I'm Young, Man to Man Youth Summit t-shirt or an Emiy t-shirt, because we have our own brand, your job as a young man is to know and respect that person, because that's what we're about. Not everybody puts on the brand or understand exactly what we're about. And so today, that's what we'll be doing here today. And each speaker that comes up here will be telling his or her story, but to let you know that they are dope. They're dependable, they're caring, they're very supportive, and you walked into a place today, for those of you who showed up, you are now surrounded by a ton of resources and support. So you never have to say what you don't have, because now you have it. You have men in here who will come to this podium and share with you exactly that resource. And I just need you to know how important that is. I got a phone call yesterday from one of my friends who said to me, the one thing is clear, Kev, whoever God puts in front of you, you are responsible for it. And you need to understand that. So God put you in front of me, and so therefore I'm responsible. Our story continued as we put our product in 7 countries. We helped build a school in Nima, Ghana, from the sales of our product. We've impacted over 22,000 youth since 2007, 68% male, and we continue to do the work as was placed in the vision years ago when we built 25,000 males mentored. We've already crossed the pipeline in the understanding that none of our boys, none of you young men that sit in here will ever go to prison. You don't have to go to prison. Should never even have to be concerned about that. But that's not your destination. As of today, from this day forward, you will be great. You will understand that it takes work. You will know what that looks like. It's not easy. Life has a tendency to punch us. And while my nose is bleeding, life will punch you in the chin. And while your chin is swollen up, life will bust you over the head. And while your head is swollen, life will kick you in your tail. But you gotta turn around, get back up, and take on life in the way that you were meant to take on. Being a man is a gift. Accountability as a man is a gift. And you need to understand, as a leader, you gotta walk in that gift. This is not the woe is me. We're not here to hold your hand, but we are here to really tell you that we love you. And if you've never heard men say it, the men that come to this podium will tell you that they love you. And that to me is very, very important. With that being said, we are going to play a video from a friend of mine who's a multi-millionaire, when you see this story, you will understand exactly what enduring. You will be motivated, and you need to pay attention, because this is, for those of you who said made promises to your parents that you was going to be a millionaire. Becoming a millionaire takes work. You got to have a solid foundation. You got to be consistent. It ain't I popped on Instagram and I just became a millionaire tomorrow. It ain't I'm on Facebook and you got your fronts up and you're a millionaire tomorrow. That's not what millionaires go through. To be a millionaire, you got to be consistent. You got to be an everyday man. To make it, to be a millionaire, you got to be an everyday man. Anything that you build, you got to be at it every day. Anything you're going to accomplish, you got to be able to be at it every day. So skipping school, you're not going to make it. Not doing your homework, not getting an education, not being able to read, right? Resources. Set that part of the game up. You're not going to make it without it. God gave you a gift, and that gift is manhood. And you will understand that as we go through this conversation. My last thing is, in each and every one of your bags is a message. You will either be able to read it, or somebody with a microphone will approach you to read it. But first, I would like to give you this video message from Zach Hart.
What a pleasure to be able to speak with you all today. What a pleasure. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about life, lift up love, how to make an impact, how to make a dent, how to realize the true realization of just being blessed every single day. You know, as you're sitting here watching me, I want you to realize one thing that's very important. You know, you're one of 400 trillion. That's what they say. In order to be born and be a gift from God, you're one of 400 trillion. So realize today, understand this first and foremost, you're a miracle. And instead of just blessing and saying prayers to hope God gives you what you need and what you desire, sit down and say thanks and pray for all the things that God has blessed you with today. So in order for me to talk to you about life, you need to know about my life, right? So I grew up in not an ideal spot, so we can relate, so we can talk, so we can kind of lift each other and understand the concept of what we're getting at. I grew up in a house that was 571 square feet. I was blessed, more than blessed. I had 10 brothers and sisters. There was a lot of us running around nonstop, but throughout the trials and tribulation of life, I had a lot of curveballs thrown at me, a lot of things that were hit with me, from drug addiction to alcoholism to getting kicked out of school to getting expelled. A lot of these were self-induced issues based on my actions as an individual. And I want to tell you this, those weren't failures of mine. Those were lessons that I taught myself through the trials of life. So as you're sitting here and as you're walking and as we're talking, you need to understand one thing, that you are a miracle and that you are God's gift. And no matter what you're going through and what is happening in your life, right? Everything is a lesson. You know, I chase winning every single day of my life. I chase winning as if there's no tomorrow. Why? Because winning doesn't care. Winning doesn't give you the opportunity to come up with excuses. Winning doesn't care about how you slept last night. Winning doesn't care if you ate today. Winning doesn't care if you're sick or if you're tired or if you're exhausted. I chase winning because the only other thing in life is losing. And you're going to lose. But with those losses, understand those are the lessons. Those are the gifts from God that He gives you to make you a stronger person, to make you more defined, to make you more refined at the game of life and what it is you want to do. But in order to live your life the way you want to live it, you got to be obsessed with your passion. You got to realize that you are the baddest person around when it comes to what it is you dream about, what you think about. So many of you right now need to understand that I would do absolutely anything to change my life and give it all up, with the exception of God's gift, which is my children, give it all up to be you here today, to be one of you, to be able to live my life again, to be able to start over, whether I'm 13 or whether I'm 16 or whether I'm 20 or whether I'm 24, to give me another shot to go back and redo my wrongs and know what I know today, but go back then and live life again in the shoes and the eyes of yourself. Man, I would give absolutely anything up to have that opportunity to live my life with what is a redo, to have that mulligan of life. So be blessed for where you are. Be blessed for the bodies you have in your life. Be blessed for the people that support you, that lift you, that guide you, that are going to help you get to that next level. But you have to understand, whether you're 13 or whether you're 24, in order to do things in life that have never been done before and to be part of something that's never been done before, you truly need to sit down and become centered with your faith and with your life and with your attitude. And you truly need to become somebody that you've never been before. So to do things that have never been done before, you got to become somebody that you're currently not. You need to be grateful for everything that's in your life. And most importantly, you need to live every single day as if it's your last. Live every single day loving, lifting, laughing, doing what's right. Doing what's right, because eventually you will be right. So have fun. Embrace people. Take time for one another. Lift up everybody and learn and motivate each other. Lead each other to be the next big thing. Once in a while in life, you need to have people in your life that support you and that believe in you more than you believe in your own self. Some of the greatest mentors in life you can look at, like one is Angelo Dundee. Who's Angelo Dundee? That was Muhammad Ali's trainer. Muhammad Ali never won a championship without Angelo Dundee. Never happened. It didn't happen. Michael Jordan, the greatest all time, right? Some of you are like, no, it's Kobe. Hey, no, it's LeBron. No, Michael Jordan, the greatest all time. He never won a championship without Phil Jackson. So you have each other. You have we, you have me, you have the bodies, you have your family that believe in you and support you and lift you up. But what are you doing? What are you doing to make a difference? Don't put your head down. Lift it up. Understand the lessons. Chase the game of life. Chase winning and be great at everything that you do, because you are responsible for change. You are the one that's responsible to make sure that when you get up, you get up. You are the one that has the ability to make a dent where you're sent, and it doesn't matter your age, whether you're 13, 15, 20, 30, 41. So understand the gifts that God has given you. Understand the surroundings and the bodies that you have with you right now, and understand life is a generous thing and time is your most valuable asset. Every day God gives you the gift to wake up, you're given 86,400 seconds to make a dent and make a change and do something significant. Live today as if it's your last. God bless. Have a great time. I wish I was there.
Right. And so Zach has been one of our biggest supporters. We have Respect Day because of Zach. Zach funded the first Respect Day, and the second, and the third, and the fourth Respect Day. So, with that being said, who wants to be first to go in their car? In the bag. Go in your bag. That's sitting next to you.
Yo.
My brother.
Oh, yeah. What do you want?
Go in your bag.
Oh.
Find that card. It's a small card. It's about yay big. Like this big.
This?
No, it's a business card. It's this color.
Yep, I got it.
Got it? You want to read it?
Yep.
Go to the microphone and read it. Right there.
Life is a big canvas. Throw all the paint that you can on it.
Thank you. Anybody understand what he just said? Anybody want to define it?
I want.
Go for it.
Yeah, so canvas is like, it's a blank sheet of paper. Do whatever you want with your life, and like just do all that you can with your life.
Yes, life in itself, as I explained, life is also, it's about, but there's also a lot of victories, like you just heard. We got a lot of victories. And we have a tendency to ignore those victories, but we got a lot of them. Rob, go in your bag, find your card.
In prayer eloquent, words do not get more attention from God than do the simplistic, humble words of a child.
Okay. Thank you. So do you understand about humble words?
Yeah.
What are they like?
I'm thinking humble words are kind of like something bad to say or something stumbling.
No, humble is being positioned a strong mindset, yet not arrogant. Right? Humble is what the young man went to the microphone and what he did. Humble is what you did. You went to the microphone humble. Right? But yet strong, because it takes strength to go stand up and read in front of somebody. So that's how you want to be. Good job. Good job. How you guys doing? Thanks for coming. Go ahead, Brother T or Dave, you got your card?
Should someone else's doubt, should you let them interfere with your faith, can affect your receiving?
Please explain it, Dave.
That means if you allow someone else's doubt, I used to say it this way, if you allow someone else's doubt to cause you to be in a position where you won't move forward in your own faith, then you won't be able to receive the thing that God has for you, because you're entertaining someone else's belief in you. And you should never allow someone else's opinion to be greater than the opinion you have of yourself.
That's wrong.
Dave is one of our mentors. Dave is also a father. Dave is about to become a doctor.
Congratulations.
Dave is a...
Congratulations, man.
Dave is a... me and Dave have things very strong in common. 37 years. He was 37 years in the military. I was 37 years in the community, and we continue to grow together and have not been apart since the day he walked in to join forces with us. And understand that there are many things that Dave could do, but he chooses to show up every mentoring session to pour love into our boys. So that's, again, you can't be consistency, young man. You cannot be consistency. Anybody else want to read their card? Come on, Brother T. Okay, it's after him.
Yes, a card in there, in your bag.
It says faith and fear cannot dwell in the heart at the same time. And basically, faith, you have to have radical faith, young man. You have to have radical faith in what you believe in. Be unapologetic about your commitment to yourself. Fear is saying that, I can't do something. You have to cancel fear. It cannot operate in the same space as faith. You have to have radical faith to be successful in life. Thank you.
Thank you. One of my favorite quotes, I'll never let it go, is, Kant is a coward that never tries. Kant is a coward that never tries. That's one of our signature Emiy quotes. We own everything that you see that we do is very, very powerful. That quote is from my childhood. There are a lot of things that happen in my life, but that quote is from my childhood. Anybody else?
My card says, be the change that you want to see in the world. It's crazy because I actually wear bracelets every day that says change the world. And the scripture is Matthew 25:35, and it says, for I was hungry and he fed me, for I was thirsty and he gave me something to drink, for I was a stranger and he invited me in. For me, this quote alone just means reciprocity. So the person that I am affects the people around me. So if I have evil or filth inside of me. And that's what's going to be shown on the outside. So I got to be right on the inside. You know, I have to be able to have discipline and be able to have the faith to keep going no matter what the outcomes is on the outside, because I want people to see me start. I always tell people, I'm in the military as well, thank you for a second. I always tell people that it's not what I do, it's who I am. Because from me, everything outside of me will always change. But I shall never change, because God made me to be a specific way. Nipsey Hussle, I know it's not really, you know. But, he said, I'd rather be at peace with myself and war with the world than at peace with the world than at peace with and war with myself. And I take that. That means to me.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was what's up, man. Wow.
What's your name?
Jeremiah, sir.
Jeremiah. It's a powerful name, Doc.
Jeremiah.
Listen, my name is Brother TEFERI. It's honor and privilege and pleasure to be here among so many other beautiful brothers, younger and old. Live your truth, not someone else's truth about you. Live your truth, not someone else's truth about you. This is a magnificent quote, really, because there's only one you, right? God has purpose and made you for his purpose for your life. No one else can live your life for you. All they can do is have an idea or perception of what your truth and your purpose is, but they really don't know, right? They're really just spectators or narrators, but they're not the creators, right? So you have to always walk in your truth and not worry about or be consumed about other people's perceptions or ideas about who they want you to be. Because usually that's a sign of someone trying to control you, right? People label you to limit you. People want to control your lives because they want to impose their will upon you. They want to live their truth through your life. But what that does is that prevents you from becoming what God has purposed and created you to be. Never allow yourself to be consumed or overwhelmed by the noise of other people's perceptions of who they want or think you are. You are who God made you to be. You are what you submit to be. And what you submit to being should be what God has purposed you to do and become. So always live your truth, not anybody else's truth. Somebody else may want you to be a basketball player, but you may want to be a writer. Somebody else may want you to be an actor, but you may want to be a basketball player. Somebody else may want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, but you may want to be an entrepreneur, right? Live your truth. Because when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Because you're loving what you do, because you're walking in your purpose. You would do that for free. See what I'm saying? Because that is what you love to do, that's what you were called to do, that's what you were designed to do, that's what you were purposed to do. When you walk in your truth, you never waste a moment of your existence. Go ahead, brother.
I actually did want to be an actor and a lawyer.
Yeah, so who told you you couldn't be?
No, that was just what I actually did thought.
Yeah. So now since you actually thought that, I need you to go actualize that. You see what I'm saying? You will be. So let's stop this. So we're going to change the language. Say, I will be an actor and a lawyer. And the best to ever do both. That's what you walk in. Bless you, brother.
Thank you.
I like that, man. That's powerful, powerful.
I also had another comment on what his thing said. I wanted to, like, you all have a story. Y'all all the main character in y'all story.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. What TEFERI just said is actually what you're sitting in. This is my purpose, and I did do it for free. And I did it for free for a very long time. I did use my resources, did use my own money. I did spend my hours because it was important to see you become a man, husband, and a father. You're ultimately very, very powerful
again. Anybody else would like to read their card? Because I'm sure we got plenty of cards to go around, so anybody else? And thank you, Jeremiah, for stepping up and sharing in this space. Some very, again, powerful brothers in the building. You can walk to the microphone, big fella.
So my card says, those who do the least talk too much. So don't be one of them.
Read that one more time, brother.
Those who do the least talk the most. So don't be one of them.
That's real.
And
What that mean here?
I always hear, don't talk about it, be about it. I learned it from a negative perspective,
Right.
but as I got older, you kind of understand everything that you hear, or some of the teachings, some of the stuff already be in the Bible, or it's like those who think they don't believe or whatever, they'll be quoting almost scriptures or things that you can apply straight from the book, and just tells you like, just don't waste your time. So to me, it brings me to Galatians 6:9, let us not become weary and doing good before the proper time we reap a harvest and do not give up. And, that's time. So time, you'll get your harvest as long as you don't give up. That's in the scripture. But faint not is actually what it originally says, which is do not grow weary. It's an English Standard Version, right? Just don't quit. So, but don't just be talking and whatever, I'll do this. Like he said, I will, change how you speak,
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Amen. Amen.
Right. The reason for the cards, right, and anybody else that want to come up and read, right, the purpose for what we're doing is to allow you to have a voice. In this space, we wanted you to have a voice, because of course we can come up here, we can speak with the best. Every man that comes to this podium is going to give you something to set you on fire, right? But more importantly, we wanted to hear from you, right? The object of this Man-to-Man Summit was to open the floor to you, right? And so we had to have the engagement, and that's why the cards were in the back, right? For the purpose of engagement, because how many of y'all get to speak? How many of y'all get to talk? How many of y'all get your point across and being able to share? So the next phase is before we start, before you get something to eat and then we go into the speakers, the next phase of this is, who's willing or brave enough to walk to the microphone and actually share their story and their goals and where they want to go. We'll start with you. Go to the mic. Because before you speak, I need you to understand, in here is answers. There are men in here that can help you achieve what it is. Go for it.
Hello, my name is Preston Walker. I was born in California, Sacramento, because my dad's family out there, and I was brought to, I keep flip-flopping between Michigan and California because both sides of my family over in both places. So, as a young kid, as a young kid, I was kind of troublesome, I think. I was kind of just a brat, starting a problem with everything, starting a fight and everything. But, as I grew up, that was all throughout, straight to middle school, and then after middle school, it stopped. I realized in high school that I always put on the mask, which is I have different masks for different areas and different people and different situations. So like one day I might just act. One day I'm around somebody that's kind of serious all the time, and like he don't take me. I might just act a little bit more serious around that person. But sometimes I'm around like a homie that I think I can do anything around. Like I'm gonna act like myself. I'm gonna just like joke around a lot. In high school, I also like developed like there isn't any reason why anybody should have war with each other. We shouldn't have war with each other as God's creation and everything. We transcended being behind, like above everything, because we created by God. And like I walk around like just real peaceful. I'm like respectful to everybody. I don't differentiate like how respectful I am to certain people. I'm respectful to everybody. I call everybody my friends because like there's no reason to be enemies. That's kind of something good, something with my story. I'm also an actor. I'm a writer. I write in almost every profession. So I write scripts, I write songs, I write a lot of stuff. And I'm also a good artist. Like I draw, and it's just a lot of stuff. And like my mother says, like even sometimes, like my mother says that I just randomly, when I'm sorting around the house, I randomly put stuff together, like how it look good, like furniture and everything. I have a good layout automatically. But that's kind of my story. I'm just an artist. I feel like I relate to everything about truth and everything. I feel like the lie is like an escape. It's an escape for safety, or it's an escape of a reality. That's what it is. It's an escape of reality. If you want to be as real as possible, so just keep the truth with you. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's what's up, man.
Jeremiah?
Hey, I'm Jeremiah.
How you doing?
Let me take you from my past and where I'm at right now, where I'm headed. So, as a kid, I went through a lot of stuff. I went through molestation, abuse, homelessness, addictions and different stuff, trying to be a person that I wasn't. I got to a point where I didn't know who I was. And the journey of me trying to figure it out, of course, everything got harder. And then I found God. I'm like, okay, God, what you got for me? And I went to basic training like 5-6 years ago. And the only thing that I wanted to do was get closer to God the whole time. I heard a message before I left. I think it was Mike Todd or something like that. And he said, God was always with David. And he said, well, why was God always with David? And the answer was because David was always with God. And I've come to understand that in my journey of life, just from the things that I've been through, the things that I've seen, and the different people that I've been around as a child, that it never depicted off of where I was, it depicted off of me. It was almost like a test of my character and who I was. So today, in this time, I completely made like a 360 for myself, because I've understood where I want to be. And in order for me to get where I want to be, I have to be the person today to get there. And that's living in my self-righteousness, living in my truths, living in the person that I know I should be. I heard Denzel Washington say, you should chase purpose and not potential. My purpose in life that I have is to serve and protect. Not only is it literally, but it's also metaphorically. Like I said, it's not what I do, it's who I am as I do it. I feel as if I touch my heart, I could save 10 lives. And that's what I want to do every day. I do Army recruiting right now, so every time I speak to someone, it's not to actually get them into the Army, it's to show them how opportunities are created. Someone told me, you have a choice and a chance every day you wake up. And it's how you take that to keep moving forward. Where I want to be in life, like as I get older, is be planted in my legacy. I don't want it to be intangible or be tangible. I want it to be intangible. Stuff that you can't take away from me. I don't want somebody to remember my last name as the person that I was, but the person that I am. think it's a powerful thing when you get up to talk about your life, because, and it goes to, anybody that want to get up, because it shows who you are as a person and where you want to be. It takes braveness and courage and a little bit of wisdom on your behalf. I thank you for getting up, because as me telling my story, I said I was molested and stuff like that. I don't know if anybody has gone through that here, but I get up to say it because, like I said, I want to impact the heart to save 10 lives. So that's me.
Appreciate you. Not just for the fact that you stood up and you were brave enough to tell your story and what you wanted to do, but the fact that you stood up. Standing as a man is one of the strongest gifts to go along with your journey. Many times as men, we have been taught to retreat. We all know somebody right now who decided today they wasn't going to leave a home because they wanted to play video games, but they missed the blessings. Blessings are way more valuable than that video game, than the shoes on your feet, than the shirt on your back. See, when you get a blessing, it's that one thing that helps you continue to move forward in your journey. As Jeremiah was talking about legacy, in my belief, in where we come from, there's a story, Mr. Bulger is going to tell you about where he's come from. There's a story, Mr. Wheeler is going to tell you about where he come from. And when I told y'all was in the building with blessings, you are going to be treated to hearing what a blessing really sounds like. And the fact is that you took a chance and you stood. I gave you a brief overview of my story. For those of you who had came in and were privy to the conversation, and you talk about legacy, this one was mind-blowing. So it's a very, I was in Miami at a BME conference, and I put my luggage down. And I'm literally, I don't know this person from a can of paint, but I put my luggage down, I decided I'm gonna go across the street, see about getting something to eat. Everybody is on their own time. And as I approach the light at Miami, I hear a young lady across the street say, "Is that encourage me? I'm young." She across the street, she could see from across the street. What I had on the polo, like that purple one I had on the logo, was this big. She said, "Is that encourage me? I'm young. You from Detroit?" When I was a kid, some men came into our classroom and gave us shirts and talked with us and spent time with us when I was a kid. I said, "Yeah, that was me." She said, "Oh my God. Let me tell you what that did for me." Today, I started a nonprofit. I run a nonprofit here in Miami to help girls be better. One t-shirt, right? That's legacy. It don't always add up. It ain't always on the bill. You know what I mean? As you said, touch 10, right? In our mentoring program, we take one young man, he's responsible, each one of our young men are responsible for touching 3. So our young men, when they speak, talk, they're responsible for touching 3. When you say 10 and you say legacy, you're speaking generations. That's wisdom beyond your age. A lot of people never recognize how important it is to be wise, to listen to your elders, to have respect. We are not getting the information from our elders because we're constantly disrespectful and attacking them. You should always get the information from your elders. These men in this building that's here are your elders. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief break. We're going to get you some food. And when you go down here, you can have a whole pizza. I know that's
that's rare. Somebody gonna let you have a whole pizza. But I want you to eat. I don't want you to fall asleep when you come back up because the conversation is about to get, interesting, and we gotta move so these young men can get back to their days because these men do a lot.
The process for what we were doing, God revealed to me this because I've been in church my whole life and had not actually heard or experienced. But Numbers 30 verse 2, which we apply to our whole good fathers only movement, hold on. It says, if a man vow a vow unto the Lord or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break, but he should do according to all that proceeded out of his mouth. Right? Numbers has everything to do with the covenant. Right? They actually built Calvinism, a philosophy off of the covenant. Right? But Numbers 30 verse 2 is what we apply to our good fathers only movement. Numbers 30 verse 2, you've heard people say, you got to keep your word. You've heard people say, my word is my bond. Well, God say, if you vow, if you open your mouth, if you say it, you must do it. Right? So I'm always careful. The second one is another one of my favorites. A lot of people lock into Proverbs, but mine, we actually, if you ever visit my web store, right? Right? Proverbs 18 and 20. Right? This is why you got to be careful about the things you say and how you speak and how you talk. So, Proverbs 18 and 20. A lot of pastors and preachers, they come to the podium and they speak about Proverbs 18 and 20. Life and death is in the tongue. Basically, you have a choice. That's me, you don't have a choice. Right? Here it is, right here. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips he shall be filled. Be careful what you say, right? People give you the life and death is in the tongue. I hang into the fruit. Let's stay in the fruit. I'm staying in the fruit because what you see is actually what has been spoken. The brother had the lead that y'all saw. Well, that's Belleville's football coach, and he had surgery and literally still came out, right? Keeping his word. That's the person that is keeping his word, his understanding. I think we need to understand how important it is when you say you're going to be somewhere, be there. I don't feel like it. And I'm going to tell you all about that. I don't feel like it, right? I don't feel like it is emotional. I don't feel like it. When you say I don't feel like something, you're working from the wrong energy, right? When you say you're going to be somewhere and you go up, and when you get up and you say you're going to do it, you're working from the right energy. I was having this conversation with my brother, the head coach of Grand Valley State University. We were talking, and he had to talk to one of his players, and the conversation was simple. He said, hey, hold on. Now, y'all don't know my brother Corn. My brother Corn went to the University of Colorado, played basketball, and it was kind of the same. Me and T, we were talking about it, was kind of in the same situation. One of your former teammates, Steve Wise, right? And so we're sitting, and I had to tell this, it's a great story. So we go to Colorado, my whole family, we sitting there, my brother about to start. Well, Steve Wise picked up the wrong guy. He picked up the wrong guy, right? And it's a major Christmas tournament in Colorado. Go be on TV. This is the first time we're about to start. And Steve Wise decided he was going to try to bully Corn. And that was a bad move, right? But I say that because, you know, we, in sharing, you speak what it is that you want. And hang to it. When you speak it, put faith on it, put it on paper, God acts. Remember that. Keep your word, speak it, put it on paper, God acts. Because everything you see right now is happening, was spoken, put it on paper, and here we are. The last one is Malachi 4 and 6. I mean, what is it? Turning the hearts of the children to the Father, and turning the hearts of the Father to the children. In our mentoring, we most definitely have fathers as mentors. It is important because fathers have a certain superpower that we are not privy to. And even a lot of fathers don't. But that's why we recruit specifically fathers to do mentoring. Fathers are very, very impactful. Our society has not valued dads enough. And so we have dads all over the place because they are not being loved and valued, do not appreciate them. Everything tells them what they're not, similar to what they tell the boy, similar to what they tell the man, similar to what they tell the husband, and similar to what they tell the father. It's consistent negativity around the male. Boy, man, husband, father. And that's not what we're about. With that being said, Brother TEFERI BRENT, if you can come to the podium and share some motivation and some love for the young men in the building.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. For I shall bless the Lord at all times, and his praises shall continually be in our mouths. So whether you are religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, just understand and know that God believes in you. And it ain't nothing you can do about it. We got an old saying amongst the brotherhood. We say, brother, I love you, ain't nothing you can do about it. God loves you, and there's nothing that you can do about it. So I'm just going to share a few words. It won't be real heavy, because I think the most important part of these kinds of events, these kinds of interactions, especially amongst men, especially amongst older men and younger men, is an exchange, is a dialogue. So I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time talking at you, because when I sat in those seats, you know, I wanted to be heard. I didn't want anyone to talk at me all day. So I want to practice that, because I think we have to have a didactic exchange where we are listening and learning from each other. Because in order for us to impart wisdom in you, we have to probably understand exactly what your needs are, what your struggles are, and what you have been through and what you're going through, in order for us to help guide you into the right direction if we're equipped to do so. And just because you're old doesn't necessarily mean you know. There's a such thing as an old fool. So there are a whole bunch of old fools who have made a bunch of old decisions, old bad decisions, and old mistakes, and found themselves in places where no man should ever be. There's a couple things I just want to touch on. Success is predicated upon four things. I look at success profoundly different. For me, success is not about material acquisition. You can sell dope and get that, right? Success is not just about getting money. You know, you can steal and get that. So it can't just be that. Success isn't about having the finest woman. You can be a pimp and do that, right? So it can't be that. Success is far more than that. So we look at there are four pillars of success. We say it's attendance, it's attitude, it's achievement, and then it's activism. Brother MARTY has built his entire academic career on these four pillars. Right, so you will hear him talk about and reference these things often if you were to sit in one of his classes or if you were a student at one of his schools. You would hear him talk about the importance of attendance, attitude, and achievement, and activism regularly, because he understands that those are foundations for any kind of student or a young man, a young woman success. So attendance, 80% success. 80% of success and 90% of life is just showing up. 80% of success and 90% of life is just showing up. It ain't just about being in the right place at the right time, but it's about being on time in the right place. Say that one more time. It ain't just about being in the right place in the right time. It's about being in the right place at the right time, but it's about being on time in the right place. When you stay prepared, you don't have to get prepared. After all, how can one receive a thing unless you are in the right position? No one can hit a fastball unless they're in the right position. No one can catch a touchdown unless they're in the right position. Right? No one can receive that shot for that spot up three unless they are in the right position. All things require that you would be in the right position at the right time. 80% of success and 90% of life is just about showing up. Number two, attitude is critical, right? But you also have to have the right attitude in order to be successful in life. Because if you show up at the right time in the wrong way, you might not get invited back. I hope you caught that. If you show up at the right time in the wrong way, you might not get invited back. You heard the Lord saying that attitude determines the altitude, meaning who you are will always determine where you are. My brother Jeremiah referred to that. He said, it's not about what I have done or what I do. It's not about my vocation. It's about who I am in God and who I am in purpose to be and what I answer to. We also understand the scripture puts it another way. He who is loving and faithful finds favor from God and man. In all that you do, it's critically important that you are loving and faithful. You'll be amazed at the favor that man and God extends to you by virtue of the way that you treat other people, by virtue of the way you show up in a place. You show up loving, prepared, respectful, kind, faithful, hopeful. You know, that people begin to reciprocate that and pour that energy back into you because they can't help it, because who and what you are dictates and determines how everything else happens around you. The third thing is achievement. Once you have a good attendance and you show up with a good attitude, you now must show out. You now must achieve. We always say, black man, you gotta show up and you gotta show out. Right? You must achieve once you show up and once you show up with the right attitude. But you can't achieve if you lack knowledge. And you can't have knowledge unless you study. And study takes work. Remember, dreams don't work unless you do. Catch that? Dreams don't work unless you can hope and pray for it. All you want to pray for works dead. You gotta apply yourself to that dream. It requires some exercise, some work, some practice, some study, some research. So you can have a vision. You can want to be an actor and a lawyer, but you still gotta go to Juilliard or to an acting school, Doc. You can want to be a lawyer, but you gotta go to law school. Before you go to law school, you gotta learn how to read and write. Before you act, you gotta learn how to read and write. You have to learn how to express yourself oratorically. See? So it's one thing to have desires and dreams, but you gotta do the work that comes along with it. Failure is never an option, and nothing beats a failure but a try. Ralph Marston puts it like this: achievement does not require extraordinary ability. Achievement comes from ordinary abilities applied with extraordinary persistence. I'm going to say that one more time. Achievement does not require extraordinary ability. Achievement comes from ordinary abilities applied with extraordinary persistence. Amen?
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
You know, but it's all about the work. Doesn't matter how gifted you are. You can be gifted. Michael Jordan, he'll tell you he was gifted, but he also had work ethic. That's what put him above everybody else. Everybody in the league, T. Will, all this, they're gifted. All of them are gifted. But the ones that achieve the highest level of excellence and greatness are the ones who put in the most work. It's the discipline that set Kobe Bryant apart. It's the discipline that sets LeBron James apart. It's the discipline that set Barry Bonds apart. It's the discipline that made Muhammad Ali profoundly different. It's the discipline that made Floyd Mayweather an undefeated champion with 50+ wins. You know, Floyd Mayweather, he never drank, never smoked. One day in his life, with all that mouth, you would think that he would drink, smoke, act like don't drink, excellent. Deion Sanders is wild and outspoken as he is. Don't drink, don't smoke. Never drank, never smoked. Was always a world-class athlete. He was gifted, you tell it. When he used to run through, one of the reasons why he was so fast, when he was a kid, he used to run through graveyards in order to get to school. Because he was fast. So he was running through graveyards. So that's one of the reasons why that's how he built his speed. Right? So he was gifted, without question. Right? But what made him better than everyone else and anyone who's ever done it is because he was disciplined. Right? He studied perpetually, worked out regularly, took good care of his body. Activism is number 4. And you can have all these other 3 things, but if it doesn't work, result in you doing something with somebody else, it means nothing. Right? Activism, the Bible teaches those that desire to be great must first be a servant to others. Be clear that God has no hands, no eyes, no ears, no arms, no legs, but yours. You were created to do something. To be something, to build something, to create something. You were created to do something, to build something, to create something, to be something. If you were meant to only do for yourself, God would have made you by yourself. Right? So God made you a social being for a reason. What other purpose is there for arms than to work and hug somebody? What other purpose is there for legs than to constantly keep it moving and to stand up to somebody? What other purpose does your eyes have other than to see somebody and have vision for somebody beyond yourself? What other purpose is there for your mouth than to speak truth to power and declare God's word in the world? What other purpose is there for your ears other than to listen to somebody, to be compassionate and concerned and understanding so that you can be of assistance to them? Understand, 4 things make you a man, make you a great man, make you a godly man, make you a successful man. Attitude, attendance, achievement, and activism. I feel it?
Yes, sir.
Amen. He deserves it. He deserves it. Give God a lot of praise. So I guess this is a question and answer discussion.
Whatever you like, bro.
Yeah, I want to follow your system. Okay. Yeah. So if there are any questions, what I shared with you, I just planted a seed. The real work and the greatest reward and the greatest benefit of this is how you received it and what it means to you, right? How you interpret what was said, right? So, does anyone have anything to say? Anything they want to share? Don't make me point you out. What about you, brother? You said you had some ideas, so you were going back and forth between 2 different states. How does what I say apply to what it is you're going through?
I have no idea because I just travel a lot.
Right.
I mean, I have work that I still keep my work ethic. What I do, no matter where, I can just do it anywhere.
How old are you?
I'm about 16.
16. What do you do?
I write, I write songs, I write plays, I write stories, I add stories and everything, storytell, I acting. Then I practice all my crafts every day.
So you write all the time?
Yeah.
You got a bunch of screen, like a bunch of scripts and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to do with that? What's your ultimate goal, right?
The last thing I want to do is my camera.
Yeah, come to the microphone, brother. Thank you, brother.
The last thing I want to do when I probably 50 years old, sitting back, just finishing my canvas, I want to just have a whole dynasty of my family and everything, have a betterment in my community and everything. And just I want to paint a more positive. I want to paint a positive. I want to leave a positive mark on this world. I feel like if I get to a high level of popularity, if I'm staying positive as I am, everybody else is my influence. I'm gonna be an influencer. I'm gonna influence other people to be positive, just like me. And because I think that everybody is kings and queens, like I said, I think we should have war with each other. So yeah.
I want you to get rid of that word if.
What?
I want you to get rid of if.
Yeah.
So if.
So when I do.
When you do.
When I do.
I bet it's already done. Yeah. You're already the director.
Yes, sir.
Right? You're already the producer.
Yeah.
Right? You're already the coolest actor ever seen, the man. You're already the best screenplay writer ever known to the industry. You're already that. You have to see that and then call yourself that. You got to call things that are not as though they were. You got to declare and decree that right now. You are already that. Because when you start seeing yourself as already being that, you start acting like that. You see what I'm saying? So you are already that, brother. Let's give this man a round of applause for the Oscar. For his Oscar was the best film for the film of the year. Great job. Already, it's already done, brother. Pulitzer Prize winner, already done. Nobel Peace Prize winner, already done. It's done. You feel me? It's already done. Go ahead, brother. Go to the mic. Attorney, what's your last name?
What's my last name?
Yes.
Patel.
Patel. Attorney Patel, to the microphone, please.
There you go. So, when I said I want to be a judge, I mean like the one for television.
Okay. That's right. But you still got to be a real judge to be a judge on TV. Right? So you can do that. I'm with you. That's already done. Hey, when is your show on air? What network are you on?
Yeah.
What network are you on?
When network I'm on, well, many kids might not be expecting this. But I was going to say I'm PBS kid.
You're on PBS? Like what time? What time your show on? What day?
Well, I mean, I haven't figured it out yet. I mean,
okay, you're working on that?
Just when I wait till a case comes.
Okay, I understand. No problem.
Keep it down the road, man.
Yes, sir. Let's get Judge Patel here. Thank you, John.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Brother Jeremiah.
How you doing? The whole time we were talking, I was just thinking about affirmations for myself. I watch a lot of videos. I'm sorry. I always do mine, so I just watch the videos. They'll say, without commitment, you will never start. Without consistency, you will never finish. That resonated with me when you was speaking about just moving along and having work ethic outside of your talents and your gifts, because everybody is talented, everybody is gifted, but what sets you apart is how you work and how you do things within yourself. I was telling my little brother, he was telling us about how he played football and stuff, and I was like, oh man, are created equal, you know, Eric Thomas, but some work harder than preseason. That's important to me, because I do a lot of stuff where it's 100 other guys, 100 other females sitting next to me, where if I'm not prepared before I even get there, I can't do nothing. I also heard Denzel say, he said, goals without plans are just dreams, and they stay there. The fact that, you know, faith without works is dead, for sure, you know, and you said it, and I truly feel that, because there's been times where I wanted something so bad, but I was waiting for God to give me my display of what I needed to do in order to get there, instead of just walking on faith. And I've been thinking about every day in my life since I got home from New York about the story of David when he went against Goliath. And then he counted his soldiers when he was prepared to go to war. He walked with faith with a fishing equipment to defeat Goliath. And then when he heard about someone trying to attack him, he wanted to go count all of his soldiers, you know, taking that consensus. So I just try to run on faith now, because faith and then his fleshly mind took over. And I think it's more important to take that opportunity within yourself to give yourself everything you have, even if it doesn't go exactly how you want it. And that's just God being sovereign, you know. And when you were explaining, I just felt it. I'm like, man, I've been talking about this since I got home. You know, the first, you know, I stopped cussing because I'm like, I can't speak genuine if I'm using these words. You know, even if I'm not saying it to that person, it's gonna come out because our energy flows. A lot of people don't understand why things come back to them that they're not putting out. but it's like it's inside of you already. And I'm moving on the pathway to get to my dreams, my goals, and aspirations for sure.
Are you still in the military?
Yes, sir.
How much longer you got to serve?
About 14 and a half, 13 and a half.
Months?
Years till I retire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, your service is long term?
Oh, absolutely.
What's your rank?
I am E4, but technically a sergeant. I just got to get promoted again because I switched branches.
So you want to go OTC? Officer training school?
Nah.
No.
Absolutely not.
They're trying to control what do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Well, when I was active duty, I was doing special forces selection, but I was also taking care of my older cousin who was schizophrenic, and the Army was kind of messing some stuff up with my pay. I was in debt, and then I had to do like loans and stuff out in order to live and provide for him. So I came home and I'm good. I'd just rather get out. Two bad choices: either sending him home without me, or me staying there being in debt. So I was like, I'm gonna just go home and be there with him. Suffer the consequences that I take.
So you reserve time?
Yeah, National Guard.
National Guard. Okay, what branch?
Army.
Army.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did recruiter right now, but I'm also going into policing. So.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You want to be a police officer?
Yes, sir.
What do you want to be? FBI agent to start? What's your alternate?
So, same thing I've been telling them is to get into the community. I feel as if me being a black young man and having a testimony that I have, I can talk to children and talk to adults and talk to people struggling and give them insight on how to change and how to just be better within yourself. A lot of people take fault and responsibility and put it in the same pile, but it may be someone else's fault that I was hurt as a child, but it's always my responsibility to change the outcome.
So have you applied for the police department?
Yes, sir. I'm actually almost finished. I have a SAC evaluation and then I'll be.
So you're in academy now?
No, not yet.
Okay, so what's the process? You got to go through the cycle now before you get to the academy, right?
Yes, sir.
So you apply for the police department? Washington.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you want to be the sheriff?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you know Sheriff Jerry Clinton?
Yes, sir. I got to speak with him because.
You know him?
Do I know him personally?
Yeah.
No, sir.
So this is what I want you to do. When you talk to him, you're going to talk with him, right?
I already have.
Okay, we're going to talk to him again?
Probably.
And you have the number?
No, sir.
Okay, so tell him, hey, I am a very good friend, right, or mentee, a brother, TEFERI BRENT.
Yes, sir.
TEFERI BRENT told me that I should reach out to you and ask you to be my mentor. Okay? That's Sheriff Jerry Clinton. So I don't know if you know a lot about him, but he's like respected by law enforcement all over the country, especially black law enforcement.
Yeah.
He's a very different kind of police officer, right?
Yes, sir.
So make sure you connect with him and tell him that you're one of my sons.
Okay.
All right? And then I'll also, make sure, Calvin, I get his brother's information, and then I'll reach out to him as well. Right? You should also connect yourself with, Ellie Sabat, you know who that is?
No, sir.
That's the Washington County prosecutor.
Okay.
Right? And then his number 2 is Victoria Burton Harris. You know what that is? You know that name? Okay, so I need you to make sure you get my number and make sure I am the rest of your entire career path. Okay, we're going to make sure we make that happen.
Okay.
All right? That's a promise.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Good afternoon, brother.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I want to save my car to this moment. And before that, I want to thank this brother for putting this together.
Yes, sir.
And giving us you never will know what love is until you experience it. And you will know what it is not. You will know what it is not after you experience what it is. My card says learn to apologize quickly. What that means for me is I have absolutely no right Not because it's illegal, because that doesn't help anybody. It's selfish. And it's wrong. As a result of that, there are a bunch of young men who don't see their dads. There are a bunch of moms who don't see their sons. I can remember taking my mother to visit my brothers, and one was in the northern part of Pennsylvania, while the other one was in the middle part of Pennsylvania. So we go from Radford, Pennsylvania. When you're in these areas, you don't see many people who look like you. Then travel southward down to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. And when you go in there, you're at the mercy of those people telling you whether or not you can see your brothers or your loved ones. Why did I go there? I need you to practice, reflecting. Who were you? Who are you? And who are you becoming? As a matter of fact, if you have a cell phone, I'm asking you please to put those 3 questions in your phone, in your memo, or in your notes. We can take time to wait for you to do it. If you have your cell phone, those 3 questions: who were you? Who are you? And who are you becoming? Who were you? Who are you? And who are you becoming? So after you reflect on that, here's something I wrote. It's called choice in the matters of me. I have a choice in the matters of me to stay locked in my past or to soar free. I have a choice to advance my plan, to move forward as well equipped people can. I've decided to stand on his promises, never to sink in despair and defeat again. Having as a goal to be my very best, to triumph in most things and in others, pass the test. It takes some time to come out of the dark. Giving things to God in prayer is our part. Seek guidance and support from God on high. Our steps are ordered, so give faith a try. I have a choice in the matters of me to do all I can and to become all I can be. Praise with a smile to God is our price, the pathway to peace and a wonderful life. I have a choice in the matters of me. When you sit down and think about that, that helps you with those questions, right? Who were you? Who are you? Who are you becoming? Especially when you get to the who are you becoming part. Because then you get the opportunity to start making choices and decisions that will ultimately let you end up doing that which you want to do and becoming that or becoming who you want to become. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. So, before I close, I want to ask you to do something for me. You wrote the reflection questions down. And now I need you to think about, from those reflection questions, one-word response to who you are becoming. A one-word response. Now I want to ask you to come up to the mic and give me that one-word response. Who are you becoming?
Monster.
Power.
Servant.
Everybody got to go through it.
Relentless.
At heart, who are you becoming?
Unapologetic.
Mature.
Judicial.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Let's go. Come on. Whenever someone gives you a voice, you take advantage of it.
Witness.
Who are you becoming? One word.
Great.
Did you say great? Yes, sir, you are. We got 2 more, 3 more. Who are you becoming? Before you leave today, you need to tell me. If you didn't want to come up, that's fine. I get it. I see you becoming brave, powerful, successful, contributors, fighters, faithful, fearless, focused, favored, famous, faithful. Thank you for your time.
Amen.
Power. I see you becoming power.
The monster.
Hey, man, I want to run. Yes, yeah. Brother said witness. Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Relentless.
That's a made up mind. Ain't nothing like a made up mind. Nothing like a made up mind. This next brother, my brother, we go back to TI in the building, John Core. We in the doorway just dropping, we dropping affirmation after affirmation. Slapping 5, but it's a Virgo thing. Not everybody can get that. You know, and he's most definitely a doer. And there's not one man in here that's not a doer. And I talked about my brother earlier. He walked in, and what he said yesterday was exactly what is taking place today. Brother Jordan, and it's actually happening. And it's a powerful thing to be in this space because just the energy that's going around, we already had a brother get blessed with some connections and some resources. So to make it wholesome and lovable and caring and giving, my brother Terrence Williams.
Yes, sir, Will.
My dope sneakers up, really. But first of all, let me just say, let's give a hand clap for God for us getting here safely. God's mercy is something we don't talk about often enough. And secondly, want to echo the words earlier that Emiy spoke about in terms of what Calvin has done today, man. So let's give some love to Calvin, man. It's not an easy feat, man, when you walk in your purpose. Sometimes you gotta walk alone. Sometimes you gotta grind it out, young man. Sometimes people don't believe in you, you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta encourage yourself at times. When we talk about encouragement, I'm young. Encourage yourself every day. I'm gonna be great, I'm gonna do great things despite my situation. Because it's not your condition, it's our decision making that determines our destiny. So if I sent you a bio, it would tell you that I went to Southwestern High School, played basketball at a powerhouse, first team All-State, first team All-PSL, got a scholarship to Arizona State University, Pac-10 Hall of Honor, played 12 years overseas, played against some great players, Gary Payton, Terrell Brandon, Harold Miner, Reggie Miller, Steve Kerr, you name it. It would tell you that I got my degree from Arizona State University. It would tell you that I came back home and got my MBA from the University of Trey Mercy. It would tell you that I went on to get my certificate in management from Harvard University. But what it wouldn't tell you is that I grew up with a mother that was on drugs and a father that was absent. That my father, I probably spent 4 hours with him and 3 was at his funeral. I give him the extra hours, maybe he came down when I was a kid and I didn't notice it. But my mother was who I was with every day. And her drug usage saved my life, is why I'm here today. Because I witnessed not only her, but her friends in this house I grew up in was literally a drug house. And I'm trying to tell you, young man, what I want to point to you is that time is your biggest asset, but what we waste the most. Time is your biggest asset, but what we waste the most. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow may not come. Today is the only 86,400 seconds that brother was talking about earlier. That's what you have. What are you going to do with the time that God has given you? Time multiplied by effort gives you the reward. So this equation is T times E equals R. Time multiplied by effort gives you the reward. You got to put the time in. The time, then the effort, that's your work ethic, gets you the reward. Then Brother Brent spoke about success. And success in the simplest form is I set a goal and I accomplished it. But the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary because S comes before W. You got to put the work in to get the success. Time multiplied by effort gives you the reward. See, some people work the day shift, some work the night shift, but I work all shifts for kids. I'm gonna say it again. Some work the day shift, some work the night shift, but I work all shifts in terms of settling, in terms of saving our young people, trying to pour into them, because poverty ain't just about money. It limits access to opportunities. It limits access to people that can help you. The antidote to poverty is opportunity, young man. Now I'll say this, man, powerless kids need powerful friends. You gotta connect with somebody. Why are you following people who are not going where you're going? If you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, you're on TikTok, you should be following people who are successful, who are in the place that you desire to be. Why are you wasting a follow somebody who don't want to be educated, who want to talk about crime and drugs and all this other mayhem in your community? Why are you following them? So I go back to decision makers. How many of you guys watch, you guys stars, you watch BMF? Anybody watch BMF series?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll tell you a story about Terry and Demetrius. I grew up with those guys.
Me too.
And known them since 4th grade, all the way to the time they got locked up. And I say this not to glorify anything, but I want to talk about decision making. I can be them, they can be me very easily. Not that I'm courageous, I can be them and being free, they can be me. So, they went on to become 2 of the biggest drug dealers in the U.S. history. Faced a lot of time, Demetrius is still locked up, Terry's out on house arrest. However, it's decision making. Young men, you gotta afford the opportunity to not make good decisions. You gotta make good decisions, not sometimes, but all the time. Decision making is key. Who you hang around with, Cameron? Who are you hanging around with? Choices and voices. When that phone call comes in, that's a voice, but you also have a choice to decide what you want to do based on what that phone call was. Sometimes you gotta be thankful that the sister who admitted caller ID sees that and you send her the voicemail. You send her the voicemail because you ain't got time, because you got to be somewhere else. Time multiplied by effort gives you the reward. I lost 3 family members this month that thought they had more time. You don't have much time. The time you got to go read it right now. That dash, I was born September 2nd, 1968.
There's a dash right there, 2 times I'm gone. That dash has to represent, what have you done on God's green earth? What have you done to make a double impact on young people? I would not be standing here with no felonies, dual degree, making an impact had it not been for a Jake Boyd, taking me to a Perry Watson. Perry Watson taking me to Arizona State University. Had it not been for black men standing in the gap for a father that was outside, I wouldn't be studying. I was a bad boy. Jeremiah, I was a bad boy. I got that thing, I was a bad boy. However, if my legacy is dependent on basketball, I have failed. And I love the game, but if my legacy is dependent on basketball, I have failed. So, I'm gonna give you a short story. I told Brother Brent earlier. I'm at LA Fitness and I stopped playing at LA Fitness and this guy working. I'm at LA Fitness working out. Young guy comes to me and says, T, you need me. I go in the gym, I started working out, I started shooting around, got me back into the game a little bit. I retired 10 years earlier. So Cal, I'm walking around the next day, I come back, I see a young brother, about 6'6", baby Dennis Rock, he dunking on people, he clowning in there. I said, who's this young guy? So I go up to him. I said, now, what high school you go to? He said, so I just came from prison 2 days ago. I said, oh, okay. Tells me that he was 17, 16 when he went in, Cal, he was 23. I come back a couple days later, he's doing the same thing. I cut into the young fella. I said, man, got your GED? He said, yeah. I said, oh, you want to go to play college basketball? Looked at me, I was kind of crazy. Like, yeah, okay. I called 2 of my guys. I called both of them. One lives in Arizona, one lives here by the Turner, WC3 head coach. I said, Coach Turner, I got a war kid, baby Dennis Robert. It'll be great for your team. Took him, Cal, sight unseen. Dude had 11 felonies. Did 7 years in the penitentiary. Ended up being first team all conference, defensive player of the year, graduated, went to U of M, did one, graduated. So it ain't just about basketball. Basketball is a tool, man. God got something bigger, better for me to do. He's making a double impact. So I'm leaving this earth. I'm leaving on empty. I've poured everything I have into young people.
Oh, man.
Young brother, you touched on something, man, when you said Matthew 25 and 35. I put that on the back of my t-shirts when I'm passing on turkeys doing Thanksgiving. When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat, man. I've been there, I understand what that feels like. But I tell you this, man, you gotta make good decisions. Because they don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you go out and be a great young man, impactful, and double impact in your community, educated, a good father, a good husband. They don't want to see that. The system is designed for you not to win, Cam. They don't want to see you win. But you can change that, brother. You can change it. And I'm telling you guys something too, man. It's okay for y'all to cry, brother. It's okay to cry, man. That's a natural release, brother. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to talk about your emotions. We have to get past suppressing our emotions. It is imperative that you get it off you. If you don't, man, you're walking around here with not badge or cargo. I want to say, I love you, man. I'm here for you. Whatever you need, man. God bless you and God keep you.
Man. Oh, man.
Because words have power. Words have wings, they fly. And wherever they land, if they're quality, they work. The other thing that when you leave here, make sure, as they have said, make sure you connect. Do not play on these men's phones, because they're not going to play. You call and tell them they need something, they are going to act. So you got to be sure about who you are, what you are, and whose you are, so you can be what you're supposed to be or become, as Brother Marty has spoken. When we go through these things, you really need to understand how powerful you are if you remain in order. Because that's everything. Men are supposed to become husbands and fathers because your legacy is attached to your last name and you are supposed to lead and guide a household. We like to relish in excuses. Oh, this one's not for me, or she, right? Because we've been playing so long, we don't know how to be merged with someone, a gift, a blessing. That's important. So you have to put yourself in a successful position to be someone of quality, to understand that you are merging with another spirit and a person to produce a family, right? Because what do we need right now more than anything are more healthy families. See, the individual mindset is very destructive. The individual mindset only talks about itself, only approves of itself. It only acts within itself. It doesn't matter who it destroys. The individual mindset is very, very destructive within itself because it is a self-made spirit for self to do selfish acts and not depend or count on nobody else but itself. Selfless is the extreme opposite. These are things you must do. High character, as we talked about, keeping your word, making sure you speak with fruit, the whole nine. High character is developed through work ethic. You got to have work ethic. See? That work ethic is about consistency. These are the things that the men have touched on. But I gotta say, I am very proud of you. And I'll say this because I've proven this time and time again that I love you. And that's something that I know I can do easy. You need to understand that there are people who know, who want the best for you, who don't want to take not one thing away from you, but want to pour into you and add into you. My card, I keep seeing this card. Learn to apologize quick. Now, accountability, that was the thing I talked about earlier. Let me be accountable to my actions, right? Because accountability is a gift. Responsibility is a gift. But here's mine. This was the one that was handed from my bag. Always make your performance bigger than your applause. Always make your performance bigger than your applause. Whatever product it is that you have, whatever it is that you're going to do, how you perform in your gift, you may not get no applause. The people outside may not give you applause. Brother George, we had a conversation yesterday about how we just, it don't matter, we not putting our brand next to someone. Yes, sir.
Can I add to that?
Yes, sir.
I would say, is this that kind of forum? Because I don't want to be out of order.
Yes, sir.
Let me first say thank my brother Calvin, as my other two partners did. But I want to thank you. This is awesome. This is beautiful, brother. And I'm so proud of you, and I respect what you're doing, man. And I'm glad that we have one of you amongst us. Let me say that. But this is too, man. You got to really understand what he just said. And I'm going to tell you why what he said, and I don't even know if he meant it in this context. When you're really good at what you do, and if what you do puts you in places of power, the real work and your most successful and beneficial work is done behind the scenes. Like, no one knows. No one knows. The people just benefit from it. So if your performance is driven by applause, right? I'm telling you, depending on what you're called to do, like what you're going to be called to do, right? Especially, right? The work that a lot of us do ain't no applause. You can't even tell it. You tell it, and you know you're a military man, because if you tell it, you deal with intelligence, because if you tell it, you compromise our relationship, which then may disallow you from getting access to the power to help the people. So when you really get into a certain place, you get to a certain level, ain't no applause. Well, nobody over when you that person of God, you can't even tell the people you did it for. And the people you done did it for, in most cases, gonna underappreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They ain't gonna appreciate it.
Not an inch.
They don't even know that you just saved 10,000 people's lives. Because you can't tell it, because you can't give up the intelligence. Right? And they probably gonna dog you out. If you do. But not help. Because you can't even tell them you help.
Man, what?
That's what I'm saying.
And we having these conversations, right? It was real. And so this is why you're very, very valuable, because of that very thing that he just said. This is what makes you valuable. That's what makes you a man. That's what really, right? You know, you're gonna get the love, you're gonna get encouragement, you're gonna get it, but can you endure? Can you endure? Do you have what it takes? What you made on? What's the foundation, right? Right? Like, what is that like? If your foundation is soft, you gotta strengthen that up before you can go and take on that next battle. You have to. You gotta strengthen it. So like it was told, you gotta encourage yourself. When I was a little boy, my mother, used to put me in front of the mirror and say, "Boy, you handsome." Say that. Right? She would do that. You didn't know she was doing that with all my brothers. So it's 7 of us at the time, a total of 10. And she doing this with all of us, with all the kids. Standing in front of the mirror, tell yourself, "You handsome. You handsome." Here I was, the little chubby boy that could hoop, but nobody wanted to put me on the team. Right? Oh, you move too slow. Okay, well, that was gonna change quickly. Why? Because I learned work ethic. Back to these conversations. So of course, some days, TEFERI, to touch on, that always what makes your performance bigger than your applause. Some days, I had this conversation recently with my son, and he said, like, my son said, Dad, we your kids, we ain't necessarily really gonna just tell you how dope you are. You know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna tell you that, Dad. Like, so if you looking for, he said, I'm trying to figure out how to, just get a laugh out you or something like that. He said, we're not necessarily gonna tell you, Dad, you dope, Dad. You a good man. You're not gonna do that, Dad. And I laughed because I was laughing about that because that is so true. Because people don't know, and everybody don't know, and everybody won't know. But that's part of being a man. That's part of being a man. That's why you can swag. That's why when I went to the microphone, I said mom stuff. See, as you see me standing here, I'm 7'5". I ain't 5'11", I'm 7'5". And I've been 7'5" for a long time. And it's just what TEFERI said behind the scene. They'll tell you, TEFERI they'll tell you. I don't knock on a lot of doors to ask for permission. I'm doing it. And if you get in the way and I see you as a problem, okay, we're gonna go around it. Or like T said, we're gonna go in the back door. Or we're gonna come through the window. Or we're gonna come through the roof. Either way, I'm coming. And that's metaphorically, I'm not committing a crime at all. It's how I structure and use my time to achieve through my consistency what I'm gonna achieve. This last part, and again, it has to be clear. Brother Charles, thank you for coming and being around to help. Brother Charles Davis is going to be getting involved. Good Fathers Only, the whole nine. I'd like to thank my wife and our partner, Latrice, for setting up. Little Kyrie, the little boy y'all see, been with me since he was in the bassinet. And I can tell you right now, little Kyrie is not normal. He's been around me since he was in a bassinet. And he is very vocal in school. He's just 6. And he asks a lot of questions and say a lot of things in the classroom. Teachers be baffled, but they don't know he's been raised by some real men. But on the back of your shirt, it says, right? If you didn't read the back of the shirt, everything in here spoke to the very topic, the very message that's on the back of your shirt. It says, I'll be strong, I'll achieve, I'll actively pursue my dreams. That's what's on the back of your shirt. I'll be strong, I'll achieve, I'll actively pursue my dreams. In 2009, I used that quote and we put 300 shirts in Africa. We sent that very shirt to Africa to an elementary school. And the kids would eventually get the t-shirt, right? And the impact that it had is still happening. Now, y'all would think I would be on Channel 50 saying, donate $20 for this t-shirt so we can send it to Africa. No, I'm not asking for permission, I'm not asking. God will supply. God has supplied. And that message that you have on the back of your shirt, I pray that you honor it. I pray that you go for it. I pray that you are the next big leader in your life, in your area, in your school. But the one thing I want you to take out of here is just as we helped you, you better help your classmates, you better be willing to help your friends, and you better be leading and not following. Because this, most definitely, is around leadership. And the next one, next year, we're gonna have performances, the whole nine. And it's gonna be around the same thing. You will have impact, be able to talk and speak. This last part, and I'll close with this because it's important to me to tell you that, again, I was supposed to fail. The devil been in my head because he knew this was going to be the outcome. So when I was 10 and contemplated suicide, my parents had just divorced, and I would try to run away 5, 6 times. You know, back then, you know, you could book. You know, them bookings would come my way, as I had to tell my mom. I would never hit my child with an extension cord, but I caught that. She got tired of me packing my suitcase and walking to the door. Like I was gonna run away. I was threatening consistently, I'm gonna run away. Again at 12. I seen a Mumford High School All-American get killed on the basketball court at Johnson Recreation Center. I am 57 years old. I was born September 14, 1965. I was born to 2 gospel pioneers. My mother and father, my father was signed with Motown as the first gospel performer at Motown. My mom and dad helped prostitutes and people. My mom used to help prostitutes because her brother was a pimp. My Uncle Junior was a pimp. My mom used to go and take and knock off all his prostitutes, save them. We had people in the house, and there's 7 of us, and she still was taking the people. Right? I learned that racism wasn't my problem. She taught me that. My dad taught me to give, go, put power down. My dad was on the east side of Wakeside Baptist, and he was also the head. He's the one that gave Old Happy Day, and he most definitely gave you Matty Moss Clark. My dad is on the back of the album as one of the top directors. How y'all see your man doing all that directing? My daddy was the first to do that. That's where everybody emulates. My daddy wrote songs with popcorn and all of that for Motown. But my parents divorced. I realized that was my dad's favorite. I just found that out. Here I am at 48 when I hear that one. That my dad, I was his favorite. He used to dress me up, take me everywhere. Right? And it goes on. But when we were talking about crying, and I talked about this, and my cousin came on because she knew my dad, and she said, your dad used to do the same thing. I was overwhelmed by the RV, and I cried when I was crying. I was only crying because of the impact And I said, I'm just overwhelmed. And she said, your dad cried after every bit of success he had. Tears are, literally, young man, tears are a reflection of hard work. Tears are a reflection of going through something and coming out of it. Tears are a reflection, as Marty talked about earlier, that all men should reflect. You should look at where you're at right now, look back and come forward, full steam ahead to keep going. Appreciate how far you have been brought today. My messages have been clear. We did a song called Encourage Me, I'm Young. We did another song called Put Your Family First. I prayed and fasted till my son got up and he's back doing his gospel hip hop. I'm going to leave you with this one. If you don't